Shalom, everyone. Last week's message was sounding an alarm, and this week's message is all about silence. I say silence is the key word today in our calendar study. It is week 16 of the year, and we are in month 4. And this month has been a month of destruction and banishment out of the garden. The temple was destroyed and people taken into captivity. The ark is floating above the waters of a destroyed, now silent earth. There's no animal noises. There's no trees squeaking in the woods. There's no birds singing. No people are talking. There's no nothing. Everything is silent. Moses is up on Mount Sinai in the clouds, and the people do not hear his voice anymore, or Yah's either. Yahusha in this time period is no longer present on the earth speaking to his disciples. They do not hear his voice anymore like they once did. I want you to think about how 9/11, when it physically happened in the U.S. years ago, how everyone came together, regardless of religion, regardless of political party, and all those divisions we have amongst ourselves, and displayed some genuine brotherly love. It lasted for a while, and it only came about in our nation because of the devastation. We all stared at our TV screens in silence that day. Today is a day of silence, and as I meditated in silence on what to say this week, because the calendar is silent this week, this is the message that came in the silence. I was reminded of Psalm 46. These are verses 7 through 12. Yahuwah Sabaoth is with us. The Elohim of Yaakov, or Jacob, is our refuge. Come, behold the works of Yahuwah, what devastations he has made in the earth. He maketh wars to cease unto the end of the earth. He breaketh the bow, and he cutteth the spear in sunder. He burneth the chariot in the fire. Be still, and know that I am Elohim. I will be exalted among the heathen. I will be exalted in the earth. It is in the stillness and the silence we can hear the still small voice inside of us. Just like Elijah or Eliyahu found that Elohim's voice was within that stillness. While today may be light on the calendar, there is a message in the stillness that I will give after a quick intro and brief weekly calendar update. So let's get started. Okay, so I'm Sierra, and I'll be reading for you today. It's week 16 on the creation calendar, and we're starting with the 106th day of the year. The 4th day of the week turns out to be the 15th day of the month 4. And why silence is the theme for this week is if we look on this calendar, this is it. This is all there is. There's really no events other than for those of us following along in the priestly fashion. We are counting the days, 49 days up to the Feast of New Wine from the Festival of Shabbaoth. But this is it for the calendar. It's a bunch of silence. So I'm going to continue on now with the bonus section for this week. So this is the bonus section for this week, and when I was meditating in the silence about what to say, since there was nothing on the calendar, I thought about how when we enter into our prayer closets and when we become silent, we hear messages. Daniel received his angelic visitations when he was in prayer, and so do a lot of prophets. And so I thought about the three angels' messages of Revelation. That was what came to me. I didn't really know why, but the more I worked on this, then I understood why. This is the message for this week. So who has entered into the stillness and turned off their cell phones, turned off their computers, turned off the radios, gone into their prayer closets as instructed by Yahusha, and waited to hear what is being said by the Ruach? Have you done that? Here's the message. Revelation 14, 6 through 12. I'm going to read them. I've color-coded them. For those of you who know, I usually do this, and I do this so you can follow the colors along in the PDF file. So, as I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, and to every nation, and kindred, and tongue, and people, saying with a loud voice, Fear Elohim, and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come, and worship him that made the heaven, and the earth, and the sea, and the fountains of waters. And there followed another angel, saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, If any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of Elohim, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels, and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascendeth for ever and ever, and they have no rest day nor night, who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of Elohim and the faith of Yahusha. We have a mature audience, and I know you all have studied these verses. What I want to emphasize today, in the midst of the wheat harvest, in the end times separation of wheat and tares, is that there can be a time which you do not hear from Yah, and many may think that Elohim is no longer responding. Prophet Elijah, looked in all kinds of places for the voice of Elohim where he thought it would be, until he got quiet, and in the stillness he heard the small voice speaking to him. If we all get quiet in these times, we need to hear the three angels' messages. And this is a little short aside that I didn't write down, but it's part of my testimony. I used to live in another state, and I was going through some really hard times. And I had gone to a coffee shop one day to have lunch, where I usually go, and I was studying the parable of the wheat and the tares. And I came home, and in my mailbox was a piece of paper folded up. You know, it's against postal regulations to do that, but somebody in the neighborhood that I was living in had done that in everybody's mailboxes. And the piece of paper said that it was time, since the weeds were obvious, it was obvious what the weeds were now, and it described what the weeds looked like. It was a certain kind of flower. It looked really pretty, but it was a noxious weed. It said it's time to go harvest the weeds and to bundle them up and take them to the dump, because the dump is going to take the bundles of the weeds and burn them. And you better believe on that day, I really thought about that parable really strong, because that's an amazing confirmation for me of, oh my gosh, pay attention to this. So I bundled up I went and harvested all those flowers that I could find, and I took them to the dump that day. So pay attention, because Yahuwah Elohim will confirm things for you in amazing ways if you're paying attention in life and you're awake. Okay, the first angel's message is a simple gospel. Do you see how it's called the everlasting gospel? To fear, which does mean fear, by the way. When you look it up in Greek or in Hebrew, it does mean fear. To be in reverence, to be in astonishment and awe. Sometimes you're in fear of what's happening and who he is and how powerful he is, and give him glory. Recognize there is a Creator Almighty. Some people don't. That's part of this message. There is a Creator Almighty. Acknowledge the Almighty and sing and speak and write about the Almighty to all the nations, to all the peoples, kindreds, and tongues. The second message is telling you that Babylon, which has been giving all the nations wine from fornication, is fallen. Now there was something released into the populations of the earth a few years ago that was forced into all the nations, that was being forced onto their populations. Did you ever connect these verses to that event? This was Babylon's wine of wrath, let alone all the corrupted doctrines that have been poured out for a very long time. I know you are a mature audience, and this is not a prophecy teaching. How many of you are aware of the Democratic candidate for mayor now in New York City and what he stands for? One of our cities that could qualify in some ways to be called Babylon may just fall very soon. There have been many teachers who have taken over the years the symbols that Apostle John actually wrote in the Greek letters for the number of the beast in Revelation 13, and they've connected them to the symbols that are worn on the military headbands of many of those who crossed our borders and march in the city streets sometimes now. Are you awake? This is connected to the second angel's message. Now the last angel speaks to the wrath of the Almighty being poured out. Not Babylon's wrath, the Almighty's. Fear him and give him the honor to his name and glorify him. Recognize the mark, the image, and do not worship the beast. For those saints listening who keep the commandments of Elohim and have the faith of his Son, do you realize what comes next after the three angels' messages? It's the harvest of the wheat, the reaping of the tares, and the harvest of the grapes, which are trodden in the winepress of the wrath of the Almighty. The festival of new wine is coming up soon. The timing of the three angels' messages is now in the cycle of the calendar. It's time to wake up and not be sleeping. We are releasing this week a perspective on the parable of the wheat and tares. I hope you watch it and connect with it. This week 16, this brief teaching I just did, and the three angels' messages as they go hand in hand. We pray you find yourself wheat, fit for the barn these days. There is much for all of us who are awake and aware to be daily praying for in our country and in this world. Be the salt and be the light. Shalom. Enjoyed this short calendar episode? Please like and subscribe to our channel and leave us a comment that you were here. We'd appreciate that very much. Shalom.